Join me as I dive deep into the mysteries of the lost Book of Enoch and try to uncover its hidden secrets. This isn't just an ancient scroll, it's a cosmic map, a forbidden prophecy, and perhaps a key to understanding who we really are. Buried by time, censored by religious powers, and nearly forgotten, yet it speaks of beings that shaped the fate of mankind. Are you ready to remember what the world tried to forget? What if the secrets of the universe were hidden in a forgotten text? A book older than much of the Bible, filled with prophecies, celestial maps, and apocalyptic visions. What if this book was rejected, not because it was false, but because it was too powerful? This is the story of the Book of Enoch, a text lost for over 1,000 years, rediscovered in a monastery in Ethiopia, and now rising once more. The question isn't whether it holds secrets, but whether we're ready to hear them. The Book of Enoch is named after the seventh patriarch in the biblical line of Adam. Genesis tells us that Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. It's cryptic, strange, and deeply suggestive, but the Bible offers no further explanation. The Book of Enoch fills in that mystery. It describes how Enoch was taken by angels into the heavens, shown the workings of the cosmos, the destinies of nations, the punishments of fallen angels, and the final fate of souls. Written in the language of Ge'ez, preserved in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the book was unknown to the West until 1773, when the Scottish explorer James Bruce returned from Ethiopia with 3 manuscripts. Though banned from most canons, it had a strong presence among early Christians. Church fathers like Tertullian considered it authentic. The Book of Jude even quotes it directly. But as Christianity became institutionalized under Rome, the mystical was stripped away. Enoch was silenced. Before the flood, before Moses, before the 10 Commandments, there were the Watchers. The Book of Enoch unveils a primordial world, filled not only with humanity, but also with divine beings. These are the Watchers, also known as the Grigori, angels assigned to observe and guide early humans. But something went terribly wrong. According to the Book of Enoch, 200 Watchers descended from heaven to Mount Hermon, led by the angel Semjaza. They made a pact to take human women as wives. From this union came the Nephilim, giant hybrids of divine and mortal blood, beings of immense strength and insatiable hunger. The earth, Enoch says, could not bear them. But who were these Watchers really? The text names several: Azazel, who taught men the art of war and women the art of seduction; Armaros, who taught spells; Barakijal, who taught astrology; and Penemu, who revealed the secrets of writing. Each gave forbidden knowledge, not to elevate humanity, but to corrupt it. Azazel's name appears in Leviticus during the ritual of the scapegoat, a demon cast into the wilderness. In Enoch, he is bound in chains beneath the desert, his sin teaching warfare and vanity. Enoch tells us that God did not take kindly to divine beings interfering with the sacred order of creation. Imagine the implications. What if our myths of gods, demigods, and fallen angels were all memories of these Watchers? Are they metaphors, or something far more literal? God commands the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, to act. The Watchers are bound. The Nephilim are destroyed in the great flood. But Enoch, chosen as a scribe of heaven, is spared. He journeys through the heavens, documenting the crimes of the Watchers and the coming judgment. This section of the text, known as the Book of the Watchers, lays the foundation for nearly every apocalyptic tradition that follows: Jewish, Christian, and even Islamic. In Enoch's vision, we see the first rebellion, not of man, but of angels. It's the inversion of Eden. Instead of man reaching for godhood, the divine descends into flesh, and chaos follows. In many mystical traditions, the Watchers are not just rebellious angels. They represent knowledge divorced from wisdom, the secrets of heaven given to an unready world. What began as guidance became contamination, and for this, the world was judged. What if ancient prophets knew more about the stars than we give them credit for? In the second major section of the Book of Enoch, often referred to as the astronomical book or book of the heavenly luminaries, we encounter one of the most complex and awe-inspiring cosmological systems in any ancient text. The book describes in great detail the movement of the sun, moon, stars, and the calendar of heaven. But this isn't vague mythology. Enoch speaks of portals through which the sun rises and sets, paths of the moon that fluctuate in size, and even the governing angels of each celestial body. This section was likely composed in the 3rd or 4th century BCE, making it older than much of the Hebrew Bible. Scholars have long debated its meaning. Is it poetic symbolism, early astronomy, or something else entirely? What we see in the astronomical book is a sacred calendar based on a 364-day year, divided into 4 seasons of 91 days. Each season begins on the same day of the week, the 4th, and includes equinoxes and solstices. The calendar emphasizes divine order and perfection. But why 364 days? Why reject the lunar calendar that governed Jewish ritual life? Some scholars believe this was a political act, a calendar created by priestly visionaries opposing the lunar calendar of the Jerusalem temple. But others see something deeper, a cosmic rhythm gifted by angels. The Book of Enoch doesn't stop at the calendar. It describes the movement of the sun through 12 heavenly gates, aligning almost eerily with later concepts of the zodiac. It says, the stars have names, roles, and are governed by heavenly beings who ensure they never stray from their path. Quote from Enoch, paraphrased, each star rises and sets in its appointed time and does not transgress its order. This belief that celestial bodies operate under divine law echoes later Hermetic and Kabbalistic cosmologies, systems in which the macrocosm of the stars reflects the microcosm of the soul. But the most startling implication of the astronomical book is this. Enoch claims to have been taught all of this by Uriel, the archangel of wisdom. It wasn't learned by observation, but by revelation. The heavens were opened. The secrets of time and space were revealed to a man. In modern terms, Enoch might be considered a proto-scientist, but unlike Galileo or Newton, his source was not a telescope or calculation. It was divine initiation. If this vision is symbolic, what does it mean? If it's literal, what does that say about our ancestors' knowledge of the cosmos? Either way, this is not superstition. It's structure, it's order, it's sacred geometry. Later, mystics would use the patterns described in the Book of Enoch to build esoteric calendars, design temples, and even code secret rituals. In the Zohar and other Kabbalistic texts, the movement of the stars mirrors the flow of divine energy through the Sephirot, the tree of life. In Islam too, the Isra and Miraj, the night journey of the Prophet Muhammad, includes cosmic ascent through multiple heavens. Scholars have compared its structure to Enoch's own heavenly tour. The big question is, why was this book excluded from the biblical canon? Some argue that its cosmology was too radical, too foreign to Hellenistic or rabbinic sensibilities. Others say it blurred the line between prophecy and forbidden knowledge. Yet the influence of the astronomical book is undeniable. Elements appear in Qumran texts, early Christian writings, and Gnostic cosmologies. It is not a fringe curiosity. It's a foundational piece of our mystical heritage. What if a human could become an angel? What if mortality was not the end, but the beginning of a transformation, one that would place a man among the ranks of the divine? This is the secret hidden in the deepest layers of the Book of Enoch, and one that Jewish mysticism would later preserve in whispers and riddles. Enoch, the mortal man, does not merely observe heaven, he becomes part of it. And in some traditions, he becomes Metatron, the highest of all angels. In the Book of Enoch, after revealing the fates of the Watchers and the mysteries of the cosmos, the narrative shifts. Enoch is no longer just a scribe, he becomes a mediator, one who records divine judgment and teaches righteousness to mankind. But this transformation reaches its peak in later mystical texts. In Third Enoch, a rabbinic work dated to the 5th century CE, the story takes a radical turn. Enoch is taken to heaven and transformed into the angel Metatron, who is described as the lesser YHWH, the scribe of God, and the only being allowed to sit beside the divine throne. Quote from 3rd Enoch, "This Enoch, whose flesh was turned into flame, whose veins became fire, whose eyes became torches, whose hair became sparks, this is Metatron." What does it mean for a human to become fire, to become word, to become Logos itself? This transformation is not just a myth. It's a map of spiritual ascent. The Kabbalists would later interpret Metatron as the bridge between the human and the divine, the guardian of the tree of life, the voice behind prophecy, the guide of mystics in their visions. In the Zohar, Metatron is associated with the Sephirah of Yesod, the foundation, the link between heaven and earth. He is both gatekeeper and mirror. Could it be that Enoch's story is our story, that the soul, when purified, does not perish but evolves, that humanity is not doomed to fall but destined to rise? Some even say Metatron was the one who guided Moses, who dictated the Torah,